Ooh, yes, give me pelo, pelo, pelo.
Ah, eso pelo de hombre, bro.
Yes, you a man.
Yo, I wish you could see my setup right now though, because I couldn't get my thing to hook into.
Okay.
So I have you propped up, and it's my crystals holding you up.
Yeah, but would it be
All
any
that
other way?
energy.
Would it be any other way? We got what's
Exactly.
up? Panama's in the house. We got everybody up in the house. But before we start, kikiing and going to the questions, I'm gonna be professional. Welcome, Robin De Jesus, to Dulce, brought to you by the New York Latino Film Festival. We're so excited to have you here. What up?
What up, y'all? It feels good to be here. Do I need more lighting?
I mean, I think you look perfect. You're giving me a little Phantom of the Opera shadow, but
Wait,
it adds a little mysterious, mystery to the effect.
yo,
And those
I'm
y'all,
more Christine
welcome.
Daye.
What, Christine? Hey,
I'm more
there
Christine.
is,
I got the flowy hair.
Yes, giving me everything.
No, I'm well, boo. I'm well. Just running around, but feeling really good. My spirit is
Amen.
doing well despite all the madness right now. So I'm just like focusing on that balance of knowing that it's okay to express joy despite all the craziness.
You know what? I mean, there's beauty in the badness. We just gotta find it and
Word.
allow it to grace us.
Yes.
Speaking of beauty, you are one of the most beautiful faces in the world, and I'm so lucky and grateful to have you in my life. My ride or die, for those of you who don't know, my bestie, my sister from another mister.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Non-sexual
so
life
proud of you.
partners.
Yes, non-sexual life partners. I'm just so proud. And you know what's funny? Is that I was thinking about this. The first time we ever went live, like just in general, was at the beginning of the pandemic. Remember when we were just like, let's just go on live. Okay.
Let's just see what happens, and we just acting stupid.
And
In the
now we
best
acting
way.
stupid, but we acting stupid like for people and for an organization. So like, let's do this. Robin, so excited. Big Netflix movie, all-star cast. You are reprising your Tony Award nominated. Why does everybody sound like that? Your Tony Award nominated role. I don't want to assume though that everyone here knows what Boys in the Band is, knows it was a play. So can you tell us a little bit about what the movie is, what it was based off of, and who your character is?
Yeah, most definitely. So The Boys in the Band was originally a play in 1968. It was a reaction to a critic who had expressed disdain upon all the out gay writers on Broadway who, instead of writing gay stories, were masquerading behind over-dramatized, over-feminized women. Almost at a drag queen level. Like when you think about like Blanche DuBois and Streetcar Named Desire. Was that really a woman, or was that gay man parading as a drag queen? Hence that level of drama. And so Mark Crowley, the playwright of our play now movie.
Rest in peace. Throw some little tea out the
Yes.
I don't want to put
it. He really he resented that review so much, and he wrote a play that was a reaction to that. And he loosely based it off of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, the Edward Albee play. So it's dark and it's meant to be really I don't want to say crass, but almost like mean. It's about a specific people who are very dark and are struggling with alcoholism. And so he wrote this play in 1968. This sounds like drama, but it's actually super funny. And then it was turned into a movie in 1970. Fast forward 50 years, Ryan Murphy was like, I want to recreate the play, and then I want to recreate the movie with a particular cast. And he hooked up with Joe Mantello. He convinced Joe Mantello to do it because Joe was like, no. But when he said, read it like an Edward Albee play, that changed everything. Joe assembled this bomb cast of 9 out gay actors. And we went to go do the show on Broadway, and we were very successful. We sold out.
You got Tony Award nomination.
We did, and we won Best Revival.
Yes, we won Best Revival.
And true to his word, Ryan Murphy and Joe kept all 9 of us for the movie. And
that's rare. People don't always do that. Yeah.
And what's even more rare is that in the original movie, it was the bulk of the off-Broadway company too, because the play was off-Broadway 52 years ago, not on. It never made it to Broadway, so our production was the first time it had ever been to Broadway.
So after 52 years, like, what do you think the relevancy? How is it relevant now to a
It's funny because
2020
people
audience?
sleep on the relevancy. You know, I think that I think what people don't realize about marginalization and about oppression is that it's savvy, it's smart, it hides in ways that you don't know. So you watch this movie and you think, oh, we're past certain themes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's specifically the theme of shame is a big one that comes up because the lead character in this movie is someone who is a kind of a self-loathing gay, which has been one of the reasons that the play has been really, really criticized. But for me, I feel like if you come into the storyline and you're really hung up on the self-loathing characters, then you're policing your people. Because the truth of the matter is that there's a 10th character in the movie that you don't see, and that character is society oppressing others, of the people that feel othered, shaming them, telling them that they're less than, right? And so some of the people, they're not self-loathing, they're just surviving.
Yeah.
They got
And
obstacles.
that's the self-loathing is an aspect. It's not the only aspect.
Thank you. And I feel like for us, it's a little easier because we know what that's like more as opposed to like white gay culture.
Well, let's dig in right there because
but first, let me just say this. Okay, I want to finish that up because what I'll just say is that, you know, the savviness of it all is that, you know, when you look at us now, there's a reason we read Brene Brown. So that shame is still there. There's a reason that
because that shit don't go away. It's like we are the products of unhealed people. So unless we do the work, you know what I'm saying? That's the only way to kind of break the cycle.
100%. It's inherited trauma. But then even the alcoholism, like you're looking at COVID right now, and alcoholism went up on the rise, you know? So there's so many themes in it that are still relevant. But I wanted to let people know, though, too, the movie's mad funny. That's all.
The movie's mad funny. And Robin is killing it. Robin always bringing such joy and such life. And I want to talk to you specifically, not just about your character, but your casting in the movie. Because I think that is one of the things that really pushes this version of this story forward, is the fact that your character is played by a person of color. And in a wiggity white traditional story. So, you know, how does your take of Emery kind of advance this narrative or make it more relevant?
Yeah, so the piece always had one black character, and that was a part of the story. But even in that, like, that character is relatively quiet in the piece. So it is overall whitey, right? And
wiggity white was what I was like,
yeah. And so the thing is like, honestly, like, they saved themselves by casting me because you needed to add people of color into the story, especially if you tell a story about New York City. In 1968, we were there. And my whole thing with Puerto Ricans and period pieces and Latin people in general is like, people act like we didn't come till the 80s during the crack epidemic.
Yeah, no, we get erased continually.
Completely erased.
You know, and our culture and our stories get erased. And and you know, it feels weird sometimes congratulating people for what they should be doing in the first place. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, but you know, you add such a depth to it, and such a, you know, a beauty and a humanities way, and I think it really does affect the rest of the world. Specifically, Goño, I can't remember the character's name. Brian?
Michael Donald Harold.
Your homeboy, the one, the thing.
Jim?
Whatever. I can't remember. Bernard, the chemistry between Emery and Bernard is beautiful, and I think it lends itself by casting two people of color in this traditional way. It's just, you can see the camaraderie, and it adds a level of, it almost makes it, I want to say, easier to watch because some of your lines are so, like, nasty.
So just so the audience knows, the nuances of what Dominic is saying is that my character, he is Latino in this version because it's me. He says really racially transgressive things toward the one black character in the room. And I honestly, when Michael Benjamin Washington plays that character, and he has said to me multiple times, I don't know that I would have been able to have played this role if it wasn't opposite you. Because if someone white was saying these things, I just don't know that my character could have stayed in the room.
Yeah. And that's a very 52-year-old way of thinking from earlier. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
No, 100%, 100%. But, you know, the thing about Emery being Latino, too, that I've recently, like, clock is that Emery's the one character in the movie that is proud, that is courageous, that is authentically himself, and does not apologize for being gay. He celebrates that shit. And so I actually think that the reason my Emery can be that way is because he's Puerto Rican. It's because we come from super proud people.
And you said something, Robin. You said something that really touched me. You said, my Emery is Latino because I'm Latino. Boom.
Punto.
Done. Casting directors, listen. That's it. Like, straight up. Going back to casting again, it is an all-out gay male cast. You know what I'm saying? Which is huge. You know, we talk about the importance of representation and shooting with your people. What was it like shooting with an all-out gay cast? I don't know if I've ever had that experience.
You know what's funny is that you and I talk about this a lot. Like, not that it's competition, but I identify as Latino first.
Yeah.
And real talk, like, it's also like we've been immersed in Latino culture. We've been surrounded by Latino people since birth. Whereas our sexuality was something that unraveled. Like, it was always there, but we never had, like, we didn't grow up with a group of, like, gay community in that way, you know? But then also the thing is that when you become an adult and you immerse yourself in the gay community, when you're Black and brown, it's not always welcoming. And you feel
Say
like
it again.
you're not
because that's the real tea. Like, people act like racism and does not exist within the gay community, and it really does. You know?
It absolutely does. Especially, I mean, there's so many things that are so fascinating too. Because it's just like when you look at the LGBTQIA group of folks, it's like that G is so capitalized and everyone else is lowercase.
Yeah.
But then even when you go further into that G, it's like the WG.
Word.
Oh wait, where were we going? I lost my thread. My bad.
Well, we were just talking about, like, what was that experience like shooting with an all gay cast?
Yeah. So the thing that was interesting was being someone who's always been proud of being Puerto Rican and my ancestry. I never really work to clock my gay pride. Like, sure, I'm proud, but I don't lean into it as much as I could, or I didn't before. And so one of the things that happened with shooting Boys in the Band and having all 9 of us be there, like, the optics of that, it really hit me as it was powerful and so beautiful. And there was something about that I sort of discovered more of my gay pride. It was more of a brotherhood in it, and I feel that brotherhood with you, but we have so many common denominators. But with this cast, like, that's the main one, the gay.
Well, that's but you know what I'm saying? It's a connection, and talking about connection and talking about familia.
Yep.
What was it like? You are the original motherfucking Sonny of In the Heights. We cannot talk about Robin de Jesus without talking about In the Heights and that experience, Tony nomination. I mean, you want to talk about groundbreaking and revolutionary, you know, an predominantly Latinx cast, you know, with that story being represented on Broadway for the first time. Yeah. What was that like?
Amazing. It's the thing that I'm most proud of in my career. Hands down, most proud of. You know, we came from a place of the bulk of that cast was coming from a place of usually being tokenized. And so we were so used to being the only person that was of their people. So when we came together and it was like, oh, it's all of us. And it's written of, for, and by the people. Like, the fact that we had someone who was one of us writing it. And the fact that it was also a working class story. Which is not very common in musicals. That we felt so proud of that. We felt such a responsibility, and not in a way that was like pat ourselves on the shoulder, oh, we so noble, but just a place that allowed you to remove your ego and focus on your work. And you couldn't walk through that show. No one was gonna let you disrespect the show that way.
Ever.
That doesn't mean that you're not gonna have a bad show, but that bad show, you still worked and you still did your best.
Yeah.
You know, and that sense of pride was what allowed us to sustain ourselves. And then afterwards, it was crazy because for a while it kind of ruined us. We just felt like,
I told you though. I told.
It's like nothing's gonna ever compare to this experience. And for a while, we had a little chip on our shoulders, but then it was like, no. It's like, we're so grateful that happened.
Yeah.
And we carry that with us.
And the legacy, Robin. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that is what I always say with Heights, is that you feel the ripples. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and I always see this, like, with everything that happened with Hamilton and it becoming massive, I really feel like that is the blessing and the karma for releasing In the Heights into the world. Like, really, like, Lynn did such magic. All of you did so much, you know, my magic. Like, you liberated a generation of performers and spirit, and even not even performers, spirits that finally got to see themselves there. I mean, I was there in that time. I was around, like, that whole experience, and it liberated me. You know, it changed me. So,
I want to clock something though.
Yeah.
As revolutionary as it was, I want everybody to clock how long it's taken since then for there to be another show like that. Like, I think people thought when that show, I know, still waiting. Like, I think people thought for a while, oh, you know, like, in the Heights, there's a change happening. There's going to be more shows written by people of color. And it's like, no. It's been a decade. It was a minute before we got Hamilton, too.
Yeah.
So I hope people realize, like, don't get caught up in the thing of, like, oh, there's a change happening. The change happens when you see multiple shows.
Amen.
And the change happens after the fact. The change happens when there is empirical evidence there's change, not before.
Amen. You know what? Speaking of change, you know, we were talking about yesterday. I was watching, you know, the Viva Broadway concert, and you know, like, we've been in the game for a long time, Robin. Like, you know, 20 years, almost 20-ish. You know,
it'll be 20 years next year for me.
So crazy. Yeah, so crazy. So I want to rewind a little bit because we were talking about Heights. For those of you who don't know, again, Robin is my best friend. I live for him. And the week right before you went into Heights rehearsal, we went to Miami. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I'm going to tell it because it's my show.
Why not? ¿Por qué tú no vas a decir la historia? ¿Qué pasó?
Because they don't need to know all the business. But we used to go to the beach and we used to pray. And one of the things we prayed for was, you know, the success of Heights and all of this and this next phase of your life. If there is anything you can go back and say to Robin on the beach, whisper in his ear, what would you say?
Don't let your career take away your joy.
Ooh. Yeah.
Because when you're younger and it's...
Oh, baby, I think you froze for a second. You may want to... hello. I can see you now, but repeat that just in case, because...
Sure, no, I totally will. Sorry about that, y'all.
No worries.
I said, you know, the thing is never lose your joy, because when you do plays, it's called a play for a reason. You're supposed to play. And I think there's this switch that happens, and for me, I started this career so young. There's this switch that happens that when you're playing, but it's also your paycheck, it takes away from the play sometimes. It's a perspective switch. And especially with Broadway, it's like everyone gets caught up on, like, oh, the stakes are high and it matters and we got to make money. And that sort of that capitalist view on our artistry, it can infect you. And I think for a while there that I had that viral infection and I had to get rid of her. Him, her, they.
No.
Yeah.
And you did. You know what I'm saying? And I think everything that is happening right now in your career is a result of that. You know what I'm saying? Right now, and not even in just career, but in who you are as a man now. Do you know what I'm saying? So because one always feeds the other. Yeah. So you're currently working right now on Tick Tick Boom with Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're not allowed to talk about any of that, but in terms of what's it like to reconnect in this way? Because before he was a cast member and now he is the director.
Well, I've reconnected with Lin before, even before this, and honestly, it's just always so much fun working with Lin. It's fun because your shoulders drop in a way because it's family.
Yeah.
They drop because there's a comfort level, but that comfort level, you also don't want to disappoint the family, so you still show up and do the work. Yeah, it's not about getting lazy. It's about just being in a place where there's a short term you have with each other. There's a language that there's a way that you speak where he can say something with 2 words and I know exactly what it is and we get right back to work.
Yeah, because nobody's giving you anything for free. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said, "Oh, Robin, come be in this movie." But you earned that. You know what I'm saying? And you continue to earn, and you continue to show up. So I think, for anyone out there who may think, "Oh, well, it's a hookup," it's never a hookup. You know what I'm saying? You always, you gotta work
for him. So also,
yeah,
I still audition for this. So, but I will say that man is always a joy to work with, and he makes it a point because for him, he's the kind of person he'll always say like showing up to act or to direct. That's his recess. So all his work he does beforehand, so that when he comes in, he comes ready to play. Yeah. So like that energy, it's infectious.
Yeah.
And also, not for nothing, like I love the fact that we could just scream across the room at each other in Spanish, and no one's gonna bat an eye because he's the director.
Isn't it? Yes. And this is what we need more experiences like. Like that's really what it is. You know what I'm saying? Continuing to provide. So, in this spirit, we were talking about the idea of legacy, and you have been created. What is the next part of the Robin de Jesus legacy as you move forward?
Why are you trying to act like you don't know already?
The thing is, I know all these the answers, but like it's for them.
No, I mean, for me, honestly, the last few years, my career went to this weird place for a minute there. I don't mean weird place in terms of the career itself, but weird places to like my relationship with my job. Because when I first started out in this business, my rooms were always so black and brown. They were so diverse, and the stories were really beautiful. And somehow over time, like I found myself in more white spaces, and I found myself shrinking in those white spaces or not being understood. And that's not to say the people that I work with weren't great people, and but it just sometimes you are. Yeah, you feel the otherness.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took me a minute to sort of clock what that was, and it's because early on in my career, I never had to consciously think about working with my people. It just always worked out.
Yeah.
And so then when I realized what it was and I put words to it, it's like, whoa, I have the consciousness now to go look for my people. Yeah. And over the years now, the work in the last few years has allowed me to not only look out for my own people, but to choose to work with them or to hook up with them and be like, oh, let's take this thing and let's bring it to so-and-so and make it happen. Yeah. And that's what I'm more interested in. I'm more interested in working with people who sort of, I don't mean for this to sound noble, but like come from the same moral compass as me, to want to tell the stories of like real life working class people, the people whose lives don't get to be told, who just everyday folks who matter but don't always let the world does not always tell them that they do.
Amen.
And honestly, like a large part of like putting words to all that is my friendship with you, because that's your world. That's the beauty of your work, And so it's like every time we link up, I don't even realize that I become closer to myself. So thank you. We can't be crying here, huh?
You are very welcome. No, you are very welcome. Yeah, I mean, and that's why we're here for each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we're gonna take some questions because the question box is blowing up. Let's take this one from Fran. Fran, in which ways having queer people play queer characters improve film?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the work, the math. Like, can a straight person play a queer role? Well, absolutely, because they probably gonna get an Oscar for it, and we not even gonna get an audition. But the thing is that there are things that we think about that they won't. There's so much more nuance that we can unravel because we've lived these things. And people ask me all the time, how do you feel about straight people playing gay roles? Bottom line, I know I could play straight roles. I've gotten Tony Award nominations for playing straight roles.
Hello.
So I want to be allowed to play straight as well. I'm not going to say that folks can't play queer characters if they're not from the community. However, the issue is that they're not even allowed to get the opportunity to play the role. They're not being allowed into the audition room. So until the numbers, the demographics of who's playing LGBTQIA characters goes up, I'm sorry, straight people need to sit back. Straight cisgender folks need to chill and let us at least get the opportunity to play ourselves, since most folks won't even let us play straight roles either.
And give our people the opportunity to feel comfortable where they can be out and not have to risk jeopardizing their career because they're afraid of losing a franchise or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you have been so brave. You have been out in your career since like 18, 19 with camp, and it's just like, and that says something, Robin, that you are doing the work.
I mean, but you know what's crazy, Don?
What's crazy?
I thought when I was 18, they're ready for it. I grew up watching My So-Called Life. I watched The Real World. I saw it in high school. I'm very romantic.
I know. Trust me.
I'm very romantic. Yeah. And when I first booked camp, I was 17, and I remember saying to the director, like, this. I don't want him to be like. I came here with an opinion and no resume, right? Because I just felt like, oh, things are gonna change. It's gonna happen. And then it was like, no, actually, you're only gonna work in theater probably now. Because they're the only ones that are like more open to non-straight folks playing straight roles,
or be comfortable with the fact that certain casting people are gonna think certain types of things, like you only play gay roles or you only play drag queens.
I mean, there's certain people that I stopped auditioning for because of that. I remember saying to my agent, I was like, listen, if they won't see me for a straight role, I'm not going in for their office because they won't even give me the opportunity. So they don't know what I can do.
We could do a whole talk on this.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Okay. This is the Boys in the Band. What do you think happens after that night at Michael's house? Shout out to Peter Miranda.
You know what's funny? I mean, for me, I think Bernard probably came over to my place, or I took him to his place and put him in bed and like made sure he was fine and sobered up. There was a version once in the play where we were like, do Bernard and Emery hook up? Or like, is that like like something that it's like a go-to when they're in need, you know what I mean? But by the end of the run and by the movie, I never felt that way. I really felt sincerely a friendship through and through, where they just took care of one another. I always felt like Emery he's really Harold's friend. He's not Michael's friend. He says to Donald, Matt Bomer's character, where have you been? I haven't seen you in forever, yada, yada. I think there's a world where Emery's angry that the party was at Michael's place and not my house, because my apartment's way better than this dumb. I always thought about that stuff. So I think at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm going to think about the call to Delbert Bots, and I'm going to think about my friendship with Bernard and what went down that night. Right. But I think that the two people that I'm going to stay connected to are Harold and Bernard. As for the rest of the group,
you're like, whatever. You like, whatever. I'm going to go home drunk. I'm going to call Trey. Trey going to come over. And that's it.
Yeah, I don't think that their friendship with the rest of the group is like tight. I think it's like they see each other at the family cookout, and that's it.
Let's talk about this. I saw this question. Being from New York, technically Connecticut by way of New York, did you ever have to deal with comments about not being Latino enough? How did you deal with it?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm so light. So that came up, but also just being a theater kid, my hometown was super mixed. My high school was minority majority, and so there were mad POC folks, but a lot of those folks didn't do the musicals, and so Robin was always a floater. Like my lunch table was like the UN. It was we had black folks, we had Afro Latino folks, Lycian Latino folks, white folks, lo que sea, right? Everybody, but then in the musical theater program, it was super duper white. So there was this thing of like I wasn't brown enough to certain people, and like I lost a certain street cred for that. And there was a part of Robin that was super defensive about that, especially being someone who's so connected to the island, to Puerto Rico, and spent so much time there, and having such a pride for that. But then, like, That didn't mess me up for a long time, to be honest, because I was just
Yeah,
like, whatever, that's
because I mean, you are one of the most Boricua people I know. You are so jíbaro.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I live for y'all. Shout out to all the De Jesuses.
Word.
I live for the whole family. So this is gonna be our last question. Oh, and we have to talk about this.
Already?
Robin, we've gone over a half hour. Do you still talk to the cast that care?
I talked to a few people. I talked to Joanna Choco, plays Ellen. She and I talk regularly. Daniel, the lead guy, not so much. Although I've had a couple run-ins with him because there was supposed to be a sequel, y'all, and it got switched because of something else. But I don't know if that's happening.
Well, you working? You hashtag booked and blessed. So it's
I mostly stay in contact with like the ensemble folks from camp, to be honest.
And Sasha.
And
you see
Sasha Allen.
Right? Yeah,
Sasha Allen all the time.
Yes, amen. So Robin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna ask you to hang out real quick because I have a very special announcement, y'all. The New York Latino Film Festival is proud to partner up with Google.org for the Power Up Funds. The Power Up, Google.org has provided $3 million, a $3 million grant to Hispanics in philanthropy for this fund. Together with Eureka, a community built up to support and grow underrepresented small businesses, the Power Up Funds is offering both capital and coaching to help small businesses grow. For filmmakers and for small media businesses out there. Arts, culture, creative economy are all part of this fund. Applications for this $5,000 grant, 5 G's, y'all, and the mentorship program must be submitted at google.org. If you are a small business owner in New York, California, or Texas, apply now at google.org. Stay on on the New York Latino Film Festival IG for updates, help spread the word, and get this money. It is all about getting these coins, yo. It's 2020. Let's get these coins. Go. The information will be posted up on our IG, and we'll be spreading it. We'll be sharing love. Speaking of which, if you haven't already, and even if you have, seen the boys in the band like 7 times, like my mom's, shout out to Maria Carlong. Watch Boys in the Band. Also, follow the New York Latino Film Festival if you don't already. And if you want to enjoy more Dulce, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, it's Dominic and Robin week. Later on in the week, you can see an interview with Robin and I, but it's going to be flipped. He's going to be interviewing me on Hulu, where Robin is interviewing me as part of the Latinx list. We have a lot of stuff happening, so make sure you stay active all on our socials. Robin, I love you.
I love you.
In 2 seconds.
Yes, I love you. And I love everybody on here because
everybody. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Shout out to the House of Teatro, everybody up, all up in the piece. New York Latino Film Festival. Robin De Jesus. Mwah. We out. Love y'all.
Hablamos.